Hi everybody, it's Kyle. So yesterday I did a video about how to identify your hot buttons, and I told you today we'd do a video on how to fix them so that you can maintain some sort of composure and control and not let your kids press your hot buttons, and maybe even you not press their hot buttons. So yesterday I had you kind of write out your hot buttons, and some of you like me may have had 20 or 40 or 60, but that was the first part of it. And the second part of it is, and this is the way to fix them, because what we don't want to do is get drawn into arguments or discussions or be manipulated by our kids. And so today we're going to talk about how to fix that. And the one simple word answer I'm going to give you is creating new, and we're going to call it triggers. And triggers are what happens to you when your child on the autism spectrum says, "I'm not going to bed." Then you're triggered into an emotional response. So we're going to change. I'm going to show you how to change those triggers today, and I want to share with you a story about when my oldest two sons, typical sons, were about 6 and 4. One of my triggers with them is I don't like it when people break stuff, because first of all, it has to be cleaned. I just don't like it. Damaging stuff just doesn't make me very happy. And at 6 and 4, they used to kind of break stuff a lot. And I realized after one time they'd broken something, and I ran into their room and was just kind of yelling and screaming at them. I'm sorry to admit that, but I realized that they were scared of me, and it really wasn't something I thought was very productive. And so I kind of put myself through this process, and you know, yesterday we wrote down on sticky notes kind of some of our triggers. And in this case, you see it says break stuff and go off. And I actually put a line through it because that's what we want to do. We want to replace that with a better reaction. Cool, calm, and productive is what I decided with my two oldest now sons, and they were 6 and 4 at the time. And so what you do is you decide what you want your better reaction to be. Just draw a line through it. What's your better reaction you want to be? And then close your eyes and put yourself mentally through that process. And what I mean by that is, let's say when you hear the shatter of something being breaking, this is me, I would trigger into a frustrated state, angry, and just run into whatever room something was broken and just start screaming. I would lose control, really. I'd freak out. And so I closed my eyes and mentally went through that process, and instead of freaking out, I went into a cool, calm, collected state. And I wanted to imagine that trigger working for me and what would happen. Now, here's the cool part. I went through that multiple times in my mind because I wanted to view a new trigger. I wanted to set a new pattern for myself. And so the next time I remember I was sitting on the couch and I heard something shatter back in my boys' room. And I hopped up and I could feel myself getting angry, and I thought, oh, wait a minute, that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to be cool, calm, and collected. And I walked back into their room, and when I walked in, I was surprised to see both of them up against the back wall, cowering in fear. And it made me realize what I had done. And I was really calm and cool, and I said, "Hey, boys, what happened?" And they wouldn't tell me at first. They were just kind of standing there scared, and I said, "It's okay. I want to make sure you're okay. We'll figure this out. Tell me what happened." And so they, with hesitancy, said, "Well, we were swinging the wiffle ball bat and we hit the light on the ceiling and it shattered and dropped on the hardwood floor." And I said, "Well, are you okay? Did anybody hit by glass? Are you okay?" And they said, "Yeah." And they were just kind of shocked at the reaction. I guess they were afraid. And the good news is as I told them, it's okay, we're going to clean this up. How are we going to pay for this? They presented me ideas to pay for it, that they would work it off and they would do some other stuff. And then they both threw their arms around my neck and hugged me real tight. And I'll never forget that feeling I had, which is, this is much, much better. This is much better. And I'm really glad now that those two boys have grown to be 22 and 20 years old. And they're both a lot bigger than me, which fear only works when they're still afraid. They're not afraid of me anymore. And shortly after that, they lost their fear of me. But what I've noticed as they grew up was that they would They were unafraid to tell me when they had problems or situations or when they messed up. And just recently, I had my 20-year-old come to me and say, Dad, I've got a problem. And he shared it with me, and I was cool, calm, and collected and productive, and we walked through it and talked through it, and we figured some stuff out. So I want you to know that this process works, and you can do it with a lot of stuff. You know, I'm a migraine sufferer, and usually when I have migraines, I'm impatient. Or I used to be, until I used the same process. I wrote down what the problem was, or my hot button, and what my natural pattern and reaction and trigger to that was to be impatient. Now when I come home, if I have a migraine, the only person that knows is my wife, because she'll say, do you have a migraine? You're being awful patient today. Because she knows what my triggers are. So really, that's really what you want to do. You want to take those hot buttons. You want to take your normal reaction and mark it out and write a new desired reaction to that. And then imagine that new desired reaction multiple times in your brain. And set a new pattern for yourself. The way it helps with our autistic kids or kids that are on the spectrum is when they have meltdowns in public and we're liable to start staring at people and get frustrated. That's not productive for our child or ourselves. And if we set a new pattern, which is patience and kindness, and we don't care what other people think, and we sit down and we manage that in the best way for our kids, they get the benefit. And man, when you come out of the other side of that, you feel so good about the way you manage that situation. So the next time your son or daughter screams at you, I hate you, or whatever your hot button is, I want you to have written down the I hate you and your normal reaction, which is to get frustrated and angry and upset or cry. Mark that out and write in a new reaction. Mentally go through that process. And the next time she or he yells that at you, you trigger that new process and manage that in the most productive way possible. So that's how you do it. That's how, instead of just talking the talk, you can walk the walk. And that's what we want to do. We all know what we should do when it gets hard, but we don't necessarily do it. This is how you can do it. So hopefully that's helpful. Have a great day. Triggers. Triggers can make your life better. Set yourself up with some triggers. Understand what your hot buttons are. Create a new outcome that you want to have, and create a new pattern in your brain, and then put it to effect. You won't always be perfect, but you know what? You'll be a lot better, and you'll have a lot better success, and the results are outstanding. So have a great day. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.